Meeting December 5th, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hagan.
Here.
Councilmember Bellinger.
Here.
Councilmember Crumming.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Swift.
Here.
And Mayor Owens.
Here. All right, we'll start this evening with a presentation, acknowledgement of recognition of a police officer involved in the response and investigation of attempt robbery / attempt homicide at the Family Dollar store, I imagine. Chief.
Yes, sir. I'd like to get my staff to come to the front, please. Squeeze in. There you go.
Amy's got quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7.
Mayor, City Council, and staff, I want to take the opportunity to recognize the men and women that represent the Escalon Police Department. Some of the staff work directly and some work indirectly behind the scenes in the Family Dollar incident. There are a few members that are not present due to other commitments. When these officers were called upon to respond to this critical incident, they dropped everything they were doing to assist. Initially, Sergeant Zambrana, Officer Rodriguez, and Officer Walsh responded to the scene. Once the scene was secured, Sergeant Zambrana and Officer Walsh attended to the victim. Officer Rodriguez maintained security of the exterior of the building. Within 30 minutes, I had staff responding to the hospital and to the crime scene. I am extremely proud on how the members of this organization collaborated with other agencies, which included the Stanislaus County Sheriff's, the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office, the Oakdale Police Department, the Stockton Police Department, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. With that said, this is our future right here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Now, anyone who wants to say anything, you can say, you're free to speak. Oh.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of Samantha.
Daughter.
I'm so grateful for you guys. You did a very outstanding job. Her recovery and
Just to add, we met with Samantha on Friday morning? Yeah. She wanted to meet the officers that responded to the scene and all the officers that worked on the case.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Anybody else?
I'll say something. So I kind of looked at this incident as kind of personal. All the community members I look at as a family. This is our family. So I kind of looked at it as, you know, if I was in that position, or if it was my son, my friend, family member. I've been in that situation before where I felt helpless. This is kind of the calling that made me come to law enforcement. So it kind of feels like I kind of gave back a little bit. And I'm not done, and neither are any of these fine officers. So just letting everybody know that Escalon's our family. We're going to protect them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
Good work.
Take care.
It's all the work by everybody involved.
Okay. Next item is consent calendar. These items are considered routine in nature and act upon by a single action unless requested by an individual council member or member of the public for special consideration. Okay. We have a motion?
Mayor Elf was tough to come after that. Mayor Elf, regarding item number 2, I will be abstaining from voting on check number 9894.
Okay.
I would make a motion to approve.
Can I pull? May I amend that?
We have a motion. Want to pull 6?
Yeah, pull 6.
Okay, number 6 is pulled, and the balance will be, go ahead.
Mayor Elf, I'd like to make a correction. This is what I get for not reading a number out without my glasses on. The check is actually number 9899.
Okay, whatever. Here we go. So did you want to make that motion again, please?
We've got something that was pulled, you said?
Six
Just
was
six.
pulled.
I'd move to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
We have a second.
Aye.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those, that's okay.
I said aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay. And so it carries 5-0. Very good. All right, let's move on to number 6. What do you got?
I just want to get a little clarity on this, as far as the signatures. You're asking basically how does it flow right now? You have two people that do the signatures, or is it one person doing the signature?
I'll answer that for you.
So currently, you have an older model where you have two signers and facsimile signatures. So the people who are signing are not necessarily reviewing anything. So it's more current to have one signer on it and then have the review process more thorough. The review process has already been modified to have that thorough review of every check before it goes out, and then it comes here to council. So the dual signature is unnecessary.
Well, my concern is not with you two. Obviously, I trust you, but if we're looking at like futuristic
Yes.
stuff, we can't predict. It's kind of logical to think you'd have two people involved.
There are two
So
people
there's
involved. There are
redundancy
two
there.
signers. There are two signers, so there's a redundancy, is what you're getting at? If there's somebody.
Yeah, because if someone goes rogue on you,
Right.
you need to make sure that that's not happening.
Right.
You know.
And so the review process ensures that. The other thing is that you have more than one authorized signer. So even though you only have one signature on the check, you have a redundancy,
Could-
just in case something happens.
Could you clarify the review process, like what actually goes on with that?
The review process?
Yeah.
So I'll
Like-
go into the weeds just a little bit.
Like if hypothetically you had to sign a check on something, how would that go? Like,
So the review process happens at the documents themselves. So if an invoice comes through, and I'm going to let's pick on the chief, let's pick on Public Works, because he's not here.
Okay.
So something comes through for one of the vendors having to do with one of the services that's provided. That check comes through to Public Works, that superintendent reviews it. He identifies an account number he wants it charged to. He's responsible that he has budget in that account, and he gets reports that have him validate that every month. And then he signs off on it. He sends it over to finance. They ensure that all of the documents are proper, that there's no redundant payment, all of that. They input it into the computer system. The computer system also checks to make sure there's no duplications. And then a report is created. Here's all the checks we're going to issue this week. And that report then goes to the accountant who reviews it and to the finance director who reviews it. And then once all that looks great, then that gets signed off and the checks are issued. So nobody actually sits down
and
with
that
the
gets
checks
signed
and
off
sign-
by,
No,
by
they actually
city
get signed
manager,
off
or-
when they're printed. It's facsimile signature.
okay, your facsimile, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But great question, because the importance of that is the review process.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's no way that in some hypothetical scenario that you couldn't have a scenario where the funds are out in the Caymans somewhere and we can't find the city manager, or, you know what I'm saying? Not that this would happen with, you know what I'm saying? So, thank you.
Okay, we'll have a motion number 6.
Move to approve item number 6.
Okay, we have a second.
Second?
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, carries 5-0. Moving to, let's see, we're down to staff communications. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you, we have all of the monthly reports for each of the departments for the month of October. Our Public Works Department report for October was not included and will be on our next meeting when we bring November. As you know, our second meeting was canceled, and that's typically when our monthly reports come out, and so this is kind of an off day because it's the first meeting of the month where we're giving the October reports that would have came on the 21st, and then next meeting we'll have the ones for November, and if you have any questions on those reports, we can answer those for you.
Any questions for staff?
I just had one for Chief Flores. Do you know, or do you have any thoughts on why we saw a big jump in the simple assaults from 21 to 22? Looks like they went from like 2 to 27.
So if you read the
Or am I reading that
staff
wrong? Maybe.
report on those stats, because we went from a different recording system.
Okay.
We went from UCR to, they call it NIBARS or CYBARS, National and California Reporting System. I could not go back and get those stats, so that's why they're offset.
Okay, so we don't have like a big jump in
No, there was not a big jump.
fist
no.
fights or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I couldn't pull data from the new recording system versus the old recording system. So we're still in the process of going through all that to figure out all the errors, all the things that's gonna happen with the new system.
Gotcha.
So we're in contact with RIMS, which is our provider for our reporting system. And that, once we get all that information, then I'll get a more accurate statistics.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any more questions? We're going to move on to matters presented from the audience.
We actually have some other updates
Do we?
for staff communications, yeah. Claire, do you have any updates you want to provide? No? Gus, do you have any updates?
Not this moment.
Okay. I have a number of updates for you. I'll go through the list. Our first item, 2310 Main Street. If you may recall, a few months back, this council approved the surplusing of a piece of property we own on Main Street. We have completed the Surplus Land Act process that we needed to go to in order to dispose of the property, and so we just wanted to advise you that that
On Main
property was
Street.
put up for sale.
You're fine.
And so it's open to be put up for sale.
Okay.
It's a little triangular lot.
Right, I remember that. No, I got
Yeah,
it,
so
I
it
got
is
it,
up for sale, in case you're wondering, that is our lot, it's up for sale. And as that moves forward, we'll keep you on the loop, or in the loop on that item. Regarding our transportation system, our E-Trans, we issued a rider alert that there are gonna be changes to our E-Trans service. Due to the ending of the contract with the Stanislaus Regional Transit Authority, E-Trans bus service is temporarily suspended as of Monday, January 2nd, 2023, until a new operator for E-Trans is found. There are alternative transportation available via RTD's VanGo. And also, if you need details regarding this item, let us know. We'll update our website. We've also been advertising this on our Facebook and city website. We are in process, our transportation coordinator, John Ando, is in process with other companies on solidifying a contract, and we're hoping to see that by either the end of this month or in January. And if you have any questions, let me know about that. Also, SB 1383, as you may recall, we had a rate increase that was related to SB 1383, which is our organics and recycling. The state of California had issued grants available. Our portion of grants that were available to our city based on population and location was about $20,000. In accordance with the eligibility and ways that we could use that money, we are going to put that money towards a tractor to meet our procurement requirements.
That's for sure.
We have specific procurement requirements that we're required to meet through the state, and so that will assist us in providing 600 yards of compost every year to the public as a part of the services. So we wanted to just advise you of that we were made aware of this grant. We did apply for it, we were awarded it, and now we'll be using it for that specific service.
Can I assume this compost will be coming from a central composting facility?
It'll be coming from our provider, Jilton.
Right.
And they'll be giving it back to us, and so then we'll be taking it in and then either relocating it or transporting it where we needed it, and so we needed,
Can the public take advantage of it as well?
public will be they will be able to access it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be sharing that with them. Also,
Can I ask a question? How are we planning on getting it out there so then when it comes available, people know about it?
we're going to be doing the same advertisement, updating the newsletter, putting it on the website, putting it on our social media.
Okay.
Yeah, utilizing With Jilton, our current provider, they also attend and have booths at a lot of our events and such, and so we try to schedule that education component as well, so that everybody's available to take advantage of that.
Thank you.
No problem. In the last several months, I know that the council has heard numerous concerns with the Almond Grove Mobile Home Park in regards to like rent increases and such. And so we actually received a call from the executive of the Housing Authority who is aware that there may be seniors in the mobile home park that maybe could qualify for some financial assistance in a way, shape, or form. And so they reached out to us, basically inquiring if we would be open to them providing some type of workshop specific to seniors in Escalon, where we could partner with them and at least provide them that connection to them to where they could find some type of financial assistance. And so I wanted to make you guys aware of
Sounds
that.
like a great idea.
Yes,
Okay, and I just wanted to
fantastic.
make sure we're all on board to
Whatever we need
move
to
forward
do.
with that. It did come to their attention. They're very interested in trying to provide that assistance and open that door to make sure that everybody gets the right materials and if they qualify, gets the help that they need to be able to stay in their homes. So I'll go ahead and let them know. And our last item is the certification of the election. We did receive a certification from the Registrar of Voters on Friday afternoon. The election has been certified by them. And so this would potentially go at our next meeting, which is scheduled for a regular meeting of Monday, December 19th. However, if council decides, they can hold a special meeting or schedule a special meeting to do it sooner than that if you would like a special meeting specific to ceremonial, where it's not attached to a regular agenda. When it's attached to like a regular meeting, we typically have consent calendar items and other things going on. We do have some items that are scheduled for the 19th. And so if council was interested, let me know if you'd be available for a special meeting where we would swear in new council members, invite their have them open to invite their families and friends if they'd like, and then take care of like mayor pro tem. Is anybody interested in a special meeting? Or-
How have you typically dealt with it in the past?
In the past, it's been attached to a regular scheduled meeting, and they wait until the meeting is finished, and then they're sworn in towards the end, and then the meeting ends with announcement of the new council, and then we adjourn the meeting. But in this instance, I wasn't sure if anybody wants to do it sooner or have it specifically addressing ceremonial so that people don't have to wait through those items.
Well, if you looked at your crystal ball, how's that meeting on the 19th look in terms of agenda items so far?
I mean, regular stuff, agenda minutes, and then the only item that agenda minutes, minutes warrants. And then the only item that we have scheduled at this time is an appeal item.
And are you looking at having a meeting at the beginning of January, or would you be putting a request to go dark on that, or
We
what do you
typically
think?
do go dark the first meeting in January, which is January 2nd, I believe. So then our next meeting wouldn't be till Tuesday, the 17th, unless otherwise scheduled. And at any time, if there's big ticket items that need immediate action, we reach out to the council to
Sure.
make sure we can schedule something. And so it's really just at council's direction, whether you want to have a special meeting or you just want to keep it on our regularly scheduled meeting.
Well, I'm going to punt and say whatever the rest of the council wants.
I would just say, do what you normally do,
Okay,
so keep it the same.
okay.
Keep it on. I'm okay with the 19th. If it looks like we're going to have a little bit more of a packed agenda per se, maybe looking to start the meeting a little earlier, maybe? I don't know. Potentially, if the meeting stays with what it sounds like, then I'm fine
Okay.
with normal time period.
So consensus on the 19th.
Consensus on the 19th?
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Are you done?
That's it.
All right. We're going to move to matters presented from the audience. The public may address the city council on the item that's on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on any item not on the agenda within the authority of the city council. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. The determination of whether an item is within the authority of the city council is a discretionary decision made by the mayor. Okay, we're going to open up the Matters presented on, so everyone come on down and give us what you got to say.
Yes, I'm John Vaughn. I own property on Arthur Road, butts up against the city golf, or the Escalon Golf Course, city property, and I'm having a major squirrel problem, and it's coming from the pit, your drainage pit, and the almond orchard that the city owns. I have approached the city 3 or 4 times, gave them my phone number, and they told me that they would pass that on to Public Works, and I've never received a phone call back or nothing. So it is, to me right now, these squirrels are starting to create a major problem in the orchard. I want it taken care of. I have poisoned on my side to do as much as I can, and I feel it's up to the city to start doing something on their side.
All right. We'll see if we can get sort of a response. We can't take any action on this because it's matters presented from the audience, but it has been noted and there will be some reaction.
What do you mean there's no action you can take?
No, John, you misunderstand.
Property.
John, you misunderstand. It's procedural. In other words, there will be action, but as a council body, we cannot elaborate on what you talked about this evening. It will go to them, they're aware of the problem, and there'll be something done.
But
But
then if your Public Works is aware of the problem, how come I haven't been notified?
I can't speak to that because I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Public Works and that particular item.
Could we have you write down your phone number so we could give you a call?
Right, it hasn't done no good the last 4 times, so what's the point?
Okay, at least I'd be able to give you a call back, yeah. Here's a pen, sorry.
We've been there since 1970. We've never had a problem until now.
Told you guys not to bring those squirrels in. Okay.
We will forward this information over to Public Works.
I assume that was what you'd do.
Back.
Is there anyone else? Here we go.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Sean Stroman. I just have a quick question. So for about the last 4 or 5 months under a closed session, we've been talking about the negotiations with the Escalon Police Officers Association, and it's continuing to be in closed session, but the general public has no idea what's going on as far as negotiations. Would you mind giving us whatever update publicly that you can provide at this point?
So sorry, we won't be able to provide that information just because it is protected and confidential in closed session.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, we're going to close this. We're going to move into matters, public hearing, adopt resolution number, let's see, 1010, or 2020, approve the 2023 San Joaquin, it's a Species Act, fee and schedule, basically financial analysis model for the San Joaquin multiple species habitat, conservative and open space. And I believe we have a speaker this evening.
We do virtually. I'm going to go ahead and give the staff report, and then we can refer to him on this item.
right.
This is an item that comes before our city council annually. Back in 2001, the city council agreed to participate jointly and collectively with San Joaquin County and its incorporated cities to extend the neighboring land protection program in perpetuity by passing a resolution which adopted the San Joaquin County Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan. Using the adopted 5-year financial analysis to the San Joaquin County Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan, the SJCOG staff, HTAT, which is the Technical Advisory Committee of this plan, their financial subcommittee members and consultants undertook the annual analysis in summer of 2022. The goal of the annual analysis is to establish the next year's habitat plan fees paid by the development project. The fees are for impacts under the countywide SJM SCP permits as defined in the 3 fee model categories, which are Category A, acquisition, Category B, assessment and enhancement, and Category C, land management and administration. Attached is a detailed staff report from SJCOG, which was presented to their board for review and consideration. A public hearing is required to be held for this item, as well as to be reviewed by other participating legislative bodies, which include San Joaquin County and the cities of Ripon, Lathrop, Lodi, Manteca, and Tracy. So therefore, staff recommends that council conduct the public hearing on this item and then approve Resolution XX-22, approving the 2023 SJM SCP development fees as adjusted pursuant to the attached financial analysis model. And we do have Steve Mayo on the line to answer any questions.
Okay, so we're going to open the public hearing. Anyone who'd like to ask questions or make comments, this is a chance for you to do so. If there are no questions, we will move it back to the gentleman on the internet or whatever it is. And does he have any comments he wants to add, or are we done?
Hi, Steve. Did you want to follow up with anything?
No, actually, you did a very good job explaining it, so I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you, Steve.
so does it come back to the vote now?
Correct.
All right, and we have a motion?
You'll probably ought to close the public hearing, right?
We'll close the hearing, bring it back for motion.
Yeah, I'd like to move on staff's recommendation.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
We have 1 abstention and 4 yeses. Okay, we're gonna go down here to consider, let's see, hold it. We got number 10, administrative matters. Discuss agenda, item requested by Mayor Alves and Councilmember Hagan for discussion of the proposed changes to baseball program for boys 11 through 13. Andy, go ahead.
This should actually be for boys and girls.
Okay.
So there was maybe some typo or something there. I'm not sure, just to clarify that. But basically, if you look at the recreation model that used to be relative to now, it's kind of broken in the sense that you've seen a lot of basically minor league baseball players and coaches through the years kind of take over the reins in baseball, creating a way to, profit by giving lessons and that kind of stuff. And so what it's done is it's put the kids that can only afford rec and play rec at a competitive disadvantage as they grow up, to the point where it's like apples and oranges when you look at their ability to compete when they go to the next level. And in a city like ours, where it's small, you either have rec or you have comp, right? But we don't have a city big enough to really do both. And so as kids start, obviously it's a fun thing and they're learning and playing. But in order to help our kids compete better at the next level when they're older, we have to think of the mindset of transition and teaching these kids to the tip of the spear so that they can compete and, think like winners, act like winners, and that takes on with you the rest of your life as far as like developmentally speaking and physically as well in the sport. And so to do that, we can do that through taking our kids that are in that age group, ideally 11 years old and older, and transitioning them to be part of what's called the TPR League, which is a league that Escalon can be a part of, and our fields can be part of the group of cities that are involved. So you have Manteca, you have Ripon, you have Riverbank in that group, and it allows our kids to be exposed to much more competitive games. At the same time, we can keep our community together, just like you see with the youth Cougars with football. And it allows them to train to the next step. So when we did surveys, we sent out, it was clear that the citizens do want this. And I think only 9% said they wouldn't be interested in that. So the overwhelming majority was involved. And so to ensure that we could do this, because you would have to raise the fees a little bit to do that, but it would still be 10 times less for a person to do that relative to, going to a comp directly. So, for example, it could be $2,500 to take your kid through NorCal, where we could do that for about 10 times less than that and allow them to still face the same competition that a company like NorCal would face. So it really behooves us, as far as the kids are concerned, to give them that opportunity, is how I see it. And I think we can provide that. So the kids that have any financial concerns with that, I've already looked into arranging that with nonprofit to where they can, in a fully transparent way, will be able to use funds to then pay for those kids that are in a financial situation where they may not be able to afford that upgrade. So that's what I'm looking for, is hopefully to get some backing on getting this to go through so that we can make this happen for our kids.
So where does that leave us? Do we vote on this, or?
Claire had some.
This is strictly a discussion item to determine if council wants to entertain anything further on this. This has gone to the Recreation Commission. They have not been supportive of this element. They've been supportive of a lot of other things that Andy has provided to them. And basically, and I have someone here who can speak to this also, it's just the difference between a program that's recreation that's available to all kids get to play versus a program that measures participants based on their skill set and includes them or not. But it is a different model, which would give a different flavor to these sports. There are some other considerations that would need to be looked at, like if a program like this were to occur, the kids would practice on a field that would be different than the field they play on, because our fields are not of the same size. And so we'd either have to modify those fields for some kids, but then it wouldn't work for other kids. There would be some things that need to be looked at.
Just to clarify some of that stuff that you're talking about, as far as the size of the fields, that's not an issue. Up to 13, we have 70-foot bases out there. So your field size is not a problem with that. As far as kids, recreational kids, they would, every kid would still be able to play. It wouldn't be a situation where your kids aren't playing. So I just want to clarify those two spots.
We could kick that back to the Recreation Commission if you chose to, if council wanted to do that. Also, I wanted to point out that a representative from TPR is here to answer questions also on that program. Lance Bullion.
I have a few questions. The recommendation was for the age group of 11 through 13, but then later on we talked 13, 14, and 15. Back, many decades when I played, you played rec until you were 15. Are you looking to make competition teams out of the 11 and above with two different differentiations, having two teams as a comp situation? Or
maybe I don't understand your question.
Well, you wanted to, so are we going to have comp teams for 11 to 13 and then 14 and 15 Babe Ruth, stay Babe Ruth, and Escalon as a rec program? Or are you looking to have two rec programs turned into two TPR comp teams, or 3 or 4, how many? I'm just trying to figure that out a little bit.
As you go through the age groups, and naturally there's kids that just stop playing.
Right.
So you get to a point where there's not enough kids really in a town this size to go all rec or all comp, because you just eat up the team. Like, that's the experience I've had with my son going through this, is that we got to a certain age group and then we had to go comp because the rec, people were just dissatisfied with the recreation scenario we have here because the competition is not there. And it's because the model of things has changed through the years. So what I was proposing is that you would have still an age group, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, ideally. I originally proposed 11 and older, but for some reason it was written down as 11 through 13.
Okay.
So it was the same clerical error with the girls being missed.
So if,
So I think through 14 ideally, because in 15 you're in high school.
yes, yeah,
So you'd really be going through 14. 11 through 14 would be your ideal, because that allows you to get the kids through the age groups, and now they're released to the high school, and they've now had competition that allows them to compete in the high school. So when they get there, they're not facing a kid. I'll give you a good example. I could put my son in rec here, face a kid throwing 50, 45, 50, and I could take him to comp, and he'll face that same kid, but he'll also face kids that throw 70. And so when he gets into high school, he's seen it already. So the likelihood of him thriving is way better
no,
than
I
the kid that's
understand the
never seen
concept of it. I'm just concerned with the rec program being changed to a comp league. I know you mentioned everybody's welcome, but let's say you've got someone who's struggling to pay the added money, they find the money, they pay for their child to participate, but they're number 14 on a team of 14. Are they gonna play? Because that's one of the things our rec program wants to make sure of is.
Correct.
If they're paying fees, they're participating.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to make sure that.
So the answer
we're not
to that
stomping
is,
on
the answer to that
opportunity.
is yes. Also, the additional funds that they may need if they're a struggling family will come from a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So it will be, no kid will be left behind in this. There'll also be minimum amount of innings that a kid would have to play. I think that's perfectly legitimate. I think that needs to be in there because you want every kid to, you don't know which kid's going to be the kid at this age, right? And I think every kid should get the opportunity to have that experience.
I think that on this particular item, if I may, I've been advised that, you know, the rec committee is not in favor of this. I feel like this is sort of going a little bit, I don't know if it's beyond or underneath the scope of the city council, but this should be a decision that's made at the rec commission level and then brought forward to us as a recommendation. I think that the city council shouldn't, you know, mandate or dictate what happens within the rec community necessarily without the recommendation from the rec commission. And so, you know, my opinion of this is, listen, I played baseball in college. I played in travel leagues throughout the summer in different leagues, and you can find that competition. I know that what Councilman Hagan is trying to find is something that will work for him and possibly his family. But I think
for me, Peter.
I think that what's happening right now is not something that should be decided by the council at this time. This should go back to the rec commission. They should review it. That's what their agency is created for. They should bring it back for a future council to decide. But I think right now is not the right time to vote on this one way or the other.
Can I make a comment? Yeah, Lance?
Lance Bullion, I'm the owner of TPR Baseball, run the youth baseball program all over Northern California. But I think our spring league is focused on all. We do include all. One thing that may not be clear is all our teams are independent. They can form their own. So if you did form your teams, you run your teams exactly how you still run them and want to run them. And all you're basically doing is deciding to play some games under our league versus some other cities that may also have rec teams that you're going to play. So instead of just Escalon playing Escalon kids in rec, you're going to play maybe some Tracy teams who are in the same boat, who, that's a bigger city, but if they don't have enough, they join our league and you're playing equal competition. Our goal is equal competition. I mean, I stress that a lot. We have different levels. We played separate ages. Each division is each age is its own division. 11 plays 11U, 12 plays 12U, 13 plays 13U. It's all separate. Even within that, we can split them, the 11 lower, the 11 higher sometimes. That's how many teams we get. So we aim for good competition. And again, we wouldn't put the low 11-year-old team against the team that's 12 and a super team. Chances are play up anyway in a higher age.
Did you go to the rec commission and present this?
I haven't spoken with them, haven't been
Well, this is
invited.
totally this is jumping the chain of command here. You're going right to the city council to make a decision.
Well,
that the rec commission is commissioned to decide.
Sure. Well, that would be great. I would love to attend their meeting. I just haven't been invited. I was invited here. I didn't invite myself. So I was approached to join our league, which I think is a great idea because.
Well, you should have been invited to the rec commission because this is a recreation item.
Sure.
And it should go there and then come here. We're talking about the city council. You know, there's other things on our plate. There's bigger things going on besides who's getting pitched at 50 miles per hour and how they're going to go on and increase their skills.
Well,
Trust me, I understand it. I played baseball my whole life. This should go to the rec commission before it comes to us.
And I would love to do that. I'm just here now.
I'm sure you can get an invitation.
That's why.
I'm sure you can.
Sure.
Hey,
Can I make a comment?
Sure, absolutely.
First off, this isn't for my child. My son would not be playing in this league. He'll be older. So I don't appreciate that comment. It's backhanded. Secondly, I was advised and instructed by our staff that this was the avenue to take. I was not instructed to put it in front of the rec commission. I was instructed to put it here. If that was the case, I would have gone there. That's what I was told. So I would appreciate if you treat him with a little more respect up front.
Why were we told that the rec commission didn't like this plan?
The rec commission has seen the plan, but not through, not with the TPR representative, but
They've seen the plan and they said
they've seen the initial proposal. They could review it again, absolutely, more thoroughly.
but initially they said they don't support this plan.
They like the Babe Ruth League
Okay.
and that level of competition.
Okay.
Because they're playing local, local teams, local.
Okay.
I think what's muddying the water is maybe, to a point, I think I do agree with Councilmember Crumwick in the sense that what's muddying the water is the process. This might be a fantastic program, and thank you very much for coming tonight. I have noticed that there does seem to be that disconnect between, well, why did the rec commission feel the other way? And maybe it just simply is because they haven't had a chance to sit down with you to go through the nuts and bolts of how this item might actually work out. That might be exactly what we need to do in this situation. And maybe that is the next thing that maybe needs to be done with this situation, because this might be a great idea.
Sure.
But I think something like this, you really want to have everybody on board. Rec commission, parents, nonprofit, and even TRC. So that's what I'm leaning towards at this point. Hey, let's take this thing back to the rec commission, have them have a serious, good listen and discussion with this, with you, sir, if you don't mind.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Would love to do that. Yeah, would love to present because I know there's obviously some things that aren't understood well, and I'd love to explain that.
Do we need a vote to send him back to the,
No, Councilmember Hagan's been to Planning Commission a few times and.
My question is this gentleman here.
But Lance has not, correct?
my question is,
No, we
do
can
we
just
have to
send it
take
back.
an action to have him go back and represent so they give a fair opportunity to understand it more clearly, or how's that work?
Consensus is fine.
A consensus?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I'm fine. I'm not trying to hide anything
No,
from anyone.
understood,
I
understood.
was advised that this is the appropriate
I understand.
action. So if Lance was okay with coming and speaking to the rec, I think they have a meeting
It's
Wednesday.
a good idea.
Wednesday.
Ideally. But there's no,
Hidden agenda.
yeah, exactly. And I do not like that kind of,
Well, I'm not applying that, Andy, and I
on it.
think you need to understand that. I didn't know, well, hey, you know what? You need to be okay with the fact that some people are going to question some actions that you take.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, well, then you shouldn't be offended when I ask a question, because I'm not meaning it personally. What I'm trying to do is have an open discussion. I don't know this man. I don't know what your involvement is. I think that it should go through the rec commission, and then it should come back to council. That's all I'm saying. There's a process here, and that's what I'm advocating
Okay, do we
for.
have a consensus to have this gentleman?
I think we do, yes.
Okay, we have the consensus. Would you please make an appointment for this gentleman, or however it's done, for him to present?
Sure.
And we'll do that way. And Lance, thank you for coming.
Lance,
Thank
hold
you
on
very
just a
much.
second. Lance, I have a question for you real quick, just for clarification. With the bigger cities like Tracy and whatnot, they've got multiple teams, it sounds like. Is that correct? So Tracy's got,
Anyone can form their own team. So
Okay.
yes, they put it together and then they decide to join our
And-
league because the collectiveness of all the teams.
Right,
playing
and so is it, you're in
competition.
your league group and team of folks, whether it's just a team of one of you or others, do you then work on evaluating level of plays so that we have the highs and the lows kind of figured out a little bit? So we've got some of that, so we're competitive, but not, like you say, blowout situation?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
And it is
That's what we
by
aim for.
one-year age groups that you are bracketing
Yes.
your program?
Yes, younger players can always play up if you didn't have enough, but yes, it's single age division,
Okay, so we can play up, but not necessarily,
not down.
okay,
Right.
okay.
Thank you so much.
That's important for me. Thank you for the
Thank
understanding.
you. Okay.
We've got a question in the audience.
Okay, absolutely.
Councilman Hagan, just a quick question. Can you explain to me and the audience how this is different than, say, a travel ball situation?
Well, travel ball is travel.
Okay.
And you're going around playing teams that are put together with engineered teams, basically. So you have like the best player at shortstop that you got to try out for, kind of thing.
Like an
So,
all-star team.
like an all-star team that's going all over. This is a local league that allows for greater pull of the local area, so you face a little better competition is what you'll see than just straight rec leagues that you see.
So I guess thank you for answering that. I guess my question is, and you're right, the rec commission surveys really said that one of the most popular programs are baseball and softball. Totally agree with that. Let's talk about a hypothetical situation where it goes to this format, and let's, for the sake of a round number, 16 member teams, and there's 64 kids, 64 11-year-olds that want to play. So you have enough for what?
4 teams.
Four teams. How do you avoid the situation where you have, as Lance mentioned, you have 13 upper or 11 upper league and then 11 lower league? Because then I think the scenario is then what you have is you have the kids on the lower level team feeling less important than the kids on the upper level team. I mean, I totally understand.
That's very easily fixed. It's very easy to do. You basically take your coaches, and they grade the kids basically, without the kids obviously knowing which kid has what talents, and they make the teams very even across the board, and they play the same competition. That's how it works.
I'm concerned only because of the fact, so I played I played basketball from second grade to through eighth grade. And in my seventh grade year, but we had enough kids for 2 teams. And in my seventh grade year, we had the blue team and we had the white team. And the blue team, my seventh grade year, went on to win the Pennsylvania State Championship. The white team had 2 wins.
Yeah.
And so here's these kids, and I remember it fondly, seventh grade, I was like the bad news bears. And I go to school the next day, and they're walking around with their medals, acting like they won the state championship, and there I was on the bad news bear team winning 2 games. And honestly, how many years ago? And I still think about that. That was a horrible experience. So if this decides to go through, I make a really strong request that it's even across the board.
If I may interject, but that might be also a good opportunity, if Lance has not a chance to talk to the rec commission, to ask Lance how that would go, down the road. Hey, how would this work out?
So to Mr. Stroman, as far as that's concerned, that already happens at our games, because you have basically, when you go into these drafts, you've got teams that are already overloaded with one team has all the talent. That's already happening here. That could actually be remedied through this process that I'm talking about. And that happens by putting your equally matched kids in a seamless approach, so that you don't have all your A kids on one team all your AC kids on one team, because we're talking about local league and developing. The bigger picture here is the competition.
Okay.
It's not necessarily wins and losses. Because you don't know which kid, he might be a C player now, might actually end up being an A player in high school. Okay, that happens all the time. And so you want them to have the same type of competition that they face. And so to do that, you would make those teams as equal across the board as you could, so that even if you say your hypothetical scenario, 4 kids in that same age group, even when they're doing games on the side, having some practice games against each other, which makes each other better. It's better that way if they're more evenly matched anyways.
So I'm going to just interject here. We really can't get into public comment back and forth,
sorry.
Mr. Stroman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
pretty much.
Yeah, we should probably cut that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, this,
Next time.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Kurt Danziger. I'm kind of confused. I agree with Mr. Crumick here. They should have gone to the Recreation Commission, if it's recreation. Is this in any way being funded by the city? Is that what?
The rec is currently funded by the city.
Right, but this is different. And where I'm going with it is, like any other budget item that's going to affect our budget, you need to have everybody that's concerned sitting right out here and not just talking about yourself in a vacuum. That's why it goes back to the Recreation Commission. Then it comes out as an agenda item for a decision. And you guys can talk amongst yourselves, I guess, whether you're for this or against it. All I'm concerned about is how it's presented to the city taxpayer. That hasn't been addressed tonight. And go through the procedures right. There's a process for these things. Let's use it. Thank you.
okay, anyone else? Oh, we're gonna have one more, okay.
Melinda Walker, and I just wanted to add that in Escalon, grew up in Escalon. I got some great competition here through the recreation program, but also through competition teams that were located in Escalon. So going back in softball, Valley Magic, Dreamcatchers, we've had local teams that are competition. However, they don't run through the city. They're either nonprofit or privately taken care of. And when kind of looking into our neighboring cities, their teams and what they do for their city are usually Babe Ruth, Little League, Pony League, and very local. And I know this keeps at, our local city outside teams there. But for an example, TPR runs year round. So they don't just have one competition during the spring season. They actually have a summer season as well. So there's no reason to take away the Babe Ruth that we have that's all accessible for everybody. Anybody can play. I have kids that are 11 and 12 who are walking to practice every day and making sure that they get they get their recreation needs met. But then again, I had a team this year, a 10 and under, so 9 and 10-year-old girls, after our season, created a team, and they went and played at Manteca Field of Dreams for a couple of tournaments, and they had a great time. But most of, like Lance said, these TPR teams can be made outside of a government entity or by yourself. You can just kind of take your team with your coach to the TPR and go compete. And so I guess there's no reason to replace what we have right now that is taking care of all of the needs of our kids. You're never gonna know how many didn't play because they didn't have easy access to games and whatnot locally. So that's just something to think about.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we're gonna close it. This gentleman's gonna address the Rec Commission, give his side of the story, and we'll see what happens. Is that where we're at?
We're at.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the last item this evening, which is number 11, consideration and approval of additional equipment for the police department.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor, council members. A little background on this. The city of Escalon provides residents with public safety service primarily through the city police department. Over the past several years, the city has made significant improvements to the equipment used to perform these services. Some of these recent improvements have accrued due to new state mandates and expectations for more attainable data such as body and vehicle cameras. Other improvements have been necessary to replace aging equipment such as vehicles. In addition, technology advancements have necessitated replacement of servers and computers to connect with state and local agencies who assist with dispatch services and emergency operations statewide. Each of these improvements have resulted in a better and more comprehensive service to the community. Advancements in police department equipment, technology, and mandates continue to require discussion and consideration. In addition, current events have prompted further evaluation with the police operation, resulting in proposals are described below for discussion and consideration. We'll start with the cell phones for patrol officers. Since 2003, the city has provided cell phones for officers while they are on patrol. These phones allow officers to contact victims and suspects from the field, look up information, as well as being used as camera for evidence gathering, are checked out by officers as they come to shift. As law enforcement activities have increased, it has become problematic for more than one officer to use a phone as that storage space becomes full quickly. In return, phone calls are not always received by the officer intended. Also, with the implementation of Axon cameras, multitude features are available with the use of pair cell phones and streamlines the data collection and statewide systems. Features include ability to review body cam footage in the field, tagging video with event categories and case numbers, taking and uploading pictures directly from the field to statewide evidence storage, and sending links to victims and witnesses in the field to allow them to upload evidence directly to statewide evidence storage. These features have not been used up till now, as the current cell phones are shared instead of being paired directly to an officer's body camera. The cost to convert from the shared cell phones to individual officers' cell phones is $566 one time for the cell phone sale tax and $9,125 each year thereafter. Additional equipment for the PD. Computer equipment. Patrol vehicles are equipped with computers specifically designed for law enforcement. 3 of these computers are needed for the new vehicles that have been recently purchased to replace aged vehicles. The cost of the 3 tough books has been quoted at $13,056. In addition, one of the police department computer servers needed to be upgraded and 4 desktop computers replaced for a total of $14,200. Now, there's been a discussion of the radar trailer. The community members' concerns have been raised recently regarding the drivers exceeding the speed limits in Escalon. The police department has researched to purchase radar trailer that could be moved to various locations to monitor the speed of passing vehicles and flash warnings as needed. These radar trailers also collect data on the speed of the vehicles. The purchase cost of a radar monitor trailer is about $17,437, and it requires council approval. The last thing to discuss is license plate readers, LPRs. I have a presentation that I'll have here shortly. The police department has been collecting information about the possible purchase of license plate readers and cameras for some time, has increased their research after recent activities. Specifically, they are interested in being able to identify vehicles entering and exiting Escalon. Our police personnel have been working with flock safety to determine the best placement of the LPRs. Possible phasing of purchase and installation and the cost of the LPRs, both one-time and ongoing. It is anticipated that 15 cameras will be needed to full coverage at a cost of $86,850, which includes ongoing costs of $40,000. However, if phasing were to occur, the phase would include 5 cameras at a cost of $15,000, 617 one time, and $13,333 ongoing. The first phase will cover the main arteries of the city. Any direction given by council on this matter will be incorporated in a proposed contract to be returned to council for final consideration. Because of the complexity of the LPRs, a representative from Flock Safety will be present to answer any questions.
Any questions for the chief?
No, other than regarding the license plate readers, I would like to inform the council that I have seen firsthand the value of these in a missing person situation, and they can make the difference between finding that person immediately, finding them a day or so later, and not finding them at all. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of at least that one particular item, if not all of them.
Chief, how many cell phones are we talking for the department?
It would be 10 additional.
10 additional doesn't tell me the total. What's the total?
There are 3 right now, so that's 13.
There'll be a total of 13. And that's going to cost $99,000 a year to upgrade them every year?
Yes,
That's the self-service fee.
Self-service fee?
that's the service fee.
Okay.
So we currently pay for the 3, so that's not an addition. So the addition is for the 10.
So when you're quoting the 9,000, does that include the 3 that are already here or not?
No,
And what do those 3 cost us?
about 90-something each one, right?
93 each one, so they're all the same, it's just different packages.
Yes, it's that we're already paying for 3. And
$90
what
a
would be
month.
more efficient would be to pay for each officer to have their own cell phone paired to the vehicle, paired to their body cam.
So they take the phone with them wherever they go, home and everything else, so they're always in contact.
Yes.
Currently, right now, we have them for like the schedule they're on, and so they come in and work, they grab a phone.
This way they all have their
It's gonna
individual
be-
phones.
Yeah, easier where they each have their own phone, they can follow up on their calls and not have to use
How does
their.
that affect the budget? I mean, what does that do to your budget?
Well, the one time it would come out of your equipment reserve. So any of these items, any of the one-time money will come out of that equipment reserve, as you've done
That's
before.
the annual reoccurrence that we'd be dealing with.
And so the annual, what we would do is we would, if the council was agreeable to this approach, we would reach out to AT&T, thank you, on the FirstNet and see if we could negotiate something. There's several possibilities when you think outside the box. We currently have cell phones for city employees that are through Verizon. Now we're paying for the phone and that service. Could we reevaluate all of those and get a lesser price through AT&T and the FirstNet? So there would be, if the council said, yes, we're interested in this, there would be some evaluation. At the end of the day, it would come back during the mid-year budget for, here's what the final cost is for this improvement.
What makes these cell phones any different than any other cell phone? How much are we paying monthly per cell phone, per person?
They're really not any different. It's more that
But
we
do we have a
don't have.
price on it? What's the monthly charge for one of those phones?
Hold on.
It's about $760 a month if you divide that 91.25. So 10 phones, $75, $76.
And then divide that by 12.
I was doing that by the 10 or so you said you were adding. so-
And to add to that, it just depends on what the phone you get. Some phones through AT&T will be like free, or if you get the newer version of the iPhone, then it will cost money.
So the one-time 566 is really just the tax on those free phones. So the phones we would get would be the free ones.
Free, yes.
What's the longevity on the phone?
Realistically, 2 years.
2 years. So every 2 years, you're going to be buying new phones?
Well, we wouldn't buy
Yes.
new phones, but it'd be we'd trade those on and they'd give us new ones.
But you have to pay that tax every time you do
You
it.
just pay the tax on them, yeah.
560 some odd bucks, which will go up every year probably. Okay, well, just trying to figure out where it's all going to go.
Yeah, 566 is for all 10.
With all these improvements, how much does that add to the annual budget of the police department? Without the hard cost of all the first-time purchases, which will come from the reserve.
I've got it ongoing, I'm just shy of 50 grand.
So that adds 50 grand to the budget?
So the ongoing of all of the items, are you looking at the ongoing including the LPRs at 15
Yeah, the
or
40,
at
the
5?
40, the 40 grand there and the 91.25 on the cell phones. So it's 50 grand recurring every year,
The 40 is for
all the cameras.
15
Yeah, I
cameras.
recognize that,
If
yeah,
you did all of them.
right. Chief, have you looked into leasing a radar trailer potentially and what those costs might be versus a purchase agreement, depending on, I mean, they only cost 17,000, so I'm curious if someone's got them for rental, long-term or short-term. I'm curious with the amount of use we would use, what kind of life expectancy, because we're gonna be responsible for all the maintenance on that thing if we own it versus either long-term leases or short-term during targeted efforts on your part.
Definitely. By the time this report was done, I didn't get a second quote. The second quote came later, and it was for a different trailer at $9,800 also.
Okay, I was just looking at different ideas, I know.
One, and it was $1,200 a month.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that's what I'm just trying to see if we've looked at the other avenues. I don't know what the math works out, just a
You
thought.
can rent them weekly, you can rent them monthly. Monthly is about $1,200.
About $1,200 a month if we wanted to rent them.
144.
When we were looking at the one that came in at
14,000 a year.
9,000, we were thinking, well, for a little bit more, at least we would have one, whereas right now we have to
Right,
rent or ask somebody to borrow one, which hasn't been working out for us very well.
right. I'm just looking at, going from zero usage to full-time, we have one, just curious for budget impact, but I think they're a great idea to have and move around town.
The other
for
benefit
sure.
of the radar trailer is that you can do a speed study. So you can decide whether, that's the correct speed. And then a survey, once we do the survey, then we can use the radar gun to enforce that speed. Whereas right now, we have streets that are not surveyed, so we
So we can determine where there's perceived speeding going on, is it really happening or not, kind of things, yeah. No, I like the idea.
I'm wondering if is it appropriate to put new funds into these pieces of equipment and things without having a contract settled with the EPOA at this point? I mean, that's our biggest budget item for the police department. Are we going to start paying for other things when we don't have that item squared away? Is that appropriate?
Well, let me answer that question, sir. As far as not talking about radar, but the flock, the cameras, if we had that system in place, I'm not going to say it was 100% that we could have detected that vehicle that came in and out of Escalon, but we would have had a better opportunity to find out about that vehicle that was involved in the crime based using this camera system. So it is beneficial to the city, the citizens of Escalon. I understand that the EPOA is in contract, but this is beneficial overall to the community of Escalon.
Good point.
I know the prior chief, Chief Lackey, was looking into, I know he had talked about LPRs. Is this something that was already in our budget and we're just talking about finalizing a number on something? Are these all outside of budget, or maybe they should have been?
The LPRs are all outside of budget at this point. They have not been budgeted.
They weren't budgeted, okay.
The only LPRs that we currently have are the ones on Axon, our vehicles, and that's limited to, if a car's coming this way, it picks up the license plate.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, at this point, what do? We're going to vote on something?
Public.
Yeah, we can open up the public now. Come on down, let's have your 5 minutes or whatever you'd like to say.
I don't know what an LPR does. I know it reads the license plate, but what happens after it reads it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. And I do have, I believe I have Hector Soliman Valdez online. But basically, the LPR, it reads the license plate, and it saves it for 30 days. And if not, we don't use it for any type of crime, any evidence, it drops off. Now,
Does it send a signal someplace to?
yes, it sends a signal. It depends on how we set it up. You can set it up where the signal will be sent to the officer's computer, and it flashes red, stolen vehicle. Or it goes to dispatch. And dispatch tells you, hey, vehicle is seen on 120, eastbound on 120, passing Walnut.
Is that like an upgrade, or is that something standard?
That's standard.
Okay, so it go to Rippon's?
It could go to Ripon Dispatch if we want to have it that way, or we can just have it go to the officer's computer on the car.
I'm thinking in conjunction with your little trailer here with the odometer checker, which is what I look at it as. It doesn't slow people down. It lets people know how fast they can really go some places. How about putting one of those on that? And have it trigger when somebody exceeds the speed limit, say on Deborah or something, and you can get a record of who's doing what and how many times and those kind of things to make that more.
I mean, you could build like a Cadillac on a radar trailer. You
Yeah.
can get a camera. It takes pictures. It does all the kinds of things. I mean, it's just going to be the cost. The more you add to it, the more it gets more expensive.
Well, I think if it's going to be effective, you know, I think you look at the cost versus and effectiveness. And, you know, if something's $5,000 more and it comes with a camera and a strobe, you know, that flashes as you're going by too fast, you know, that's more of a preventative measure than just somebody that wants to know if his speedometer's actually reading 52 miles.
Well, actually,
Chief, I'm going to have to
okay, sorry.
call it there.
Yeah, we can't get into discussions like that.
That was mine.
Anyone else? Okay. So, now we're going to close it. Is anybody online would like to speak about this matter? Anybody on the phones like to speak about this matter? We have no one responding, so we're going to bring it back to the council.
Yep.
Council,
Mayor Alves, I'd like to make a motion if we're ready.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve the additional equipment for the police department as per tonight's agenda item 11 to be funded from the general fund equipment reserve as part of the fiscal year 2022-2023 mid-year budget.
Back up, just a minute. That's coming from the general fund reserve? Or I thought it was a special fund?
Equipment reserve, I'm sorry.
What was it?
Equipment reserve. I may have-
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's a little nerve-wracking. Okay.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries 5-0. All right, that's the end of our regular meeting. We're going to go to a closed session. Thank you all for coming.
Claire, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just had a question, just for clarification. Are you talking about all 15 of the LPRs or 5? Because they're both in that
I think we went all the way.
I think my thought was all 15. I think my thought was all 15.
I'm going to go with rip the Band-Aid off.
I think we went for all 15.
Okay, there we go.
I want to make sure.
Yeah, my thought was all 15. Sorry.
Before we go into closed session, did you want to do council communications?
We're not bankrupting that.
No, I guess we
reserve.
do. Yes, we do. Council communications, let's start with Councilman Crummage.
Thank you, Mayor Alves. Yeah, I don't have anything.
Very good. Let's move to Councilman Bellinger.
Just real quick, congrats to the high school football team. Big game on Saturday, small town football. Be there if you can, be an awesome opportunity. Christmas on Main was moved till Sunday because of the conflict there. Hopefully we don't get rained out and we have a great time there. For those of you who may not know, we lost a longtime member of our community that used to show up to our meetings on the regular basis. We lost Angelo Dugo this past week, so our thoughts are with the family on that. Tough loss for the town, but yeah. Blanco, sorry, excuse me. So that's all I've got.
Okay, Councilman Hagan.
I'd just like to second what Councilman Dave just said. I think, and as well as congratulate the cops for their hard work and efforts. They're oftentimes overlooked, but they do a real important job in our town. I just want to say thank you.
Vice Mayor Swift.
Yeah, again, I agree with Councilmember Hagan regarding our officers and their excellent efforts in this situation. And I think improving what we just approved, I think is only going to help that situation. Not that we ever want to have anything like that ever happen again, but I think the best equipment, the best tools that they have is going to will make their job, it can only make it better and more effective yet. I do have a question. Of course, right to Christmas on Main is going to be on Sunday, December 11th, which is going to be right between this council and the seating of the next council. So the question is, what would we like to do in terms of having a float in the parade? Do we want to have both councils there? Do we just want to have the current council? I'm going to go with whatever everybody else wants because I'm not going to be in the float. I'm going to be with the microphone introducing and gradually.
Are you going to be emceeing for us?
Yeah, I will be. I'll be the one saying, thank you for your services or welcome aboard. So
let's get the newbies on.
Yeah, so it's whatever you guys all want to do.
I say we get the new council on the float. Yeah.
I'm completely whatever everybody wants.
Whatever.
I don't care what you guys do. What do you want to do?
Do we want to have a float, first of all?
I guess that's the first question.
Definitely.
Because my trailer's not available, that's why. My trailer's not available this year.
I would just,
Or at least put it this way, I'm not available to decorate the trailer. Okay, let's put it like that.
what do you typically do? I mean,
Throw everybody on a
Do we have a
trailer
16-foot trailer and I have to decorate the whole
No, I
thing
mean,
and I'm
like-
busy?
you've had this scenario before, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Like, what have you typically done in the past?
I have a 16-foot trailer and
Yeah, it's-
somebody pulls it.
No, I'm
His
saying like,
personal trailer, like typically he works it out.
no, I'm not talking about that, because I've seen the trailer.
Oh,
I'm talking about like, what do you normally do in this?
Have the
Oh, with a-
current council. And there have been times in the past where we'll have the current council on the trailer, and let's say one's retiring, let's say, no, you know what? A couple years ago, we had Walt. Gosh, who replaced him?
I would just stay.
I'm sure I'm looking right at him.
I think I took Walt's.
Yeah,
Staying
yeah,
consistent with what you normally do, I think,
yeah.
you know,
So
whatever that is.
Well, which means we could do both, or just have the newbies, whatever you want to do. And if somebody doesn't want to ride the trailer, that's totally fine too. If you want to throw candy from the side, fine. You know, if you're
Well-
gonna stay home that night, watch Sunday Night Football, that's fine too.
And I would hate to throw a wrench in this, but, you know, you can give your thoughts on it, but we really can't take any action or consensus on this. This has not
Because it
been
wasn't
agendized.
Correct.
So,
I
I
just
think,
need the thoughts.
yeah, I know exactly. You can give some
Yeah.
thoughts, and Dominique also can kind of work with
Okay.
council.
There we
to
go.
So
figure
we're
that
done
out.
with this meeting, let's move into the,
Right.
well, you have nothing to say, so we're good. Closed session to come.
You want to